Right. Whew. It's an absolute pleasure to be joining you all at AIDD. Thank you for waiting for me sitting in the chat, not knowing what to click, and finally working it out. But we got there. We got there. Um, I also I love that I'm following Debbie. Debbie, who's off to give another talk later today. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia, and therefore it is 1 in the morning for me right now, and I have already given a talk tonight locally in Melbourne, which has been fun. So so it's absolutely great to be here. My name is Nash. Yeah, I am a developer relations engineer. Well, so technically, currently I'm at IBM, but I work on the Langflow project, which is now part of IBM. So IBM recently bought the company I worked for, and that's where I am right now. So I'm a developer relations engineer at IBM, but I work mostly on Langflow, which I think is very cool. If you do want to find me at all on the internet, please do. I'm all over the place as Phil Nash, basically wherever you can find somebody on the internet. You'll find me as Phil Nash. So yeah, hit me up on Blue Sky, Twitter, LinkedIn. If you have any more questions after this, I'd love to answer them, because I'll be honest, I probably won't hang around for the entire day because that'll take me to tomorrow morning, and I'm not ready for that. Cool. I also want to say I'm afraid we won't get to meet the sausage dog this evening because she is currently keeping my wife company in another room. So no sausages. But here we go. Cool. So what are we talking about? Prompt engineering is dead. I'm going to start with that. Hopefully that's okay with all of you, because it's not to say prompt engineering is not cool. In fact, it's really useful. In fact, we have just seen a whole load of prompt engineering as part of the instructions and the prompts that Debbie was giving to Copilot in VS Code in her talk just now. A lot of prompts to drive a lot of what we can get agents and models to do for us. But I think it's dead. I'm afraid. I'm sorry about that. Instead, it turns out, I think it's we're entering the age of context engineering. Context engineering is not just writing prompts. It's not just big explanations to a model about what we want it to do. It's very much more than that. It's more than just writing complex alone can achieve. It's the craft of creating the perfect environment for an agent, so that it has the best chance to help you create the best outcomes when you're working with it. And I think this makes sense as a parallel to how we've worked as developers for years up until this point. We pick the tools that we are going to help us get the best job done ourselves. We're no longer writing machine code, right? We write with high-level programming languages. We have frameworks that have abstractions that mean that we can think about the problem that we're trying to solve, and not just about how the syntax works. We have third-party libraries and services that we can use to handle bits of application logic that aren't core to our business but are still important as part of our application. We gather the documentation that we need for the components that we're putting together. We get testing tools, as Debbie was showing with Playwright, to run automated testing for us. As developers, we are always surrounding ourselves with the tools that we need in order to get our job done. We even build tools to handle things that are, hard to remember, that will do specific bits for us as part of building an application. I've never, I swear, never once written a CSS gradient by hand from memory. I always go and use something like ColorZilla. This is a bit of a blast from the past, I think, but this is with gradient generator I used to use, or one of the more modern recent ones. I've always used that. In fact, have you seen was it Tiny Helpers? That's this application. It's built by Stefan Judas, and it's got almost 700 different tiny applications that do very specific things for developers. And I love this. There's so many of them. There's almost too many. 136 for CSS alone, because these these things are out there to allow us to accomplish something that, we don't have to necessarily remember and keep on our heads at all times. And so, we're no longer in a situation where we actually have to do all the building. That's why we're here today, right? We're doing AI-driven development now. We are in charge of an agent or even teams of agents to do our bidding for us. So I actually sort of like to think that we're a bit like the Secret Service, like MI6 in the world of James Bond, in the world of 007. In fact, we actually get to play as developers today. We get to play somewhere between the roles of M and Q. Like, we're there to give instructions to our agents. Like M, we have to set up a mission. We have to be clear about the objectives. We have to try and control our agent when it starts to go off the rails. But we're also like Q. Like, we provide the agents with tools with which to go about the mission. Like, sometimes it's something useful something that's useful anywhere the agent wants to go, like a bulletproof car, or like the document scanner that you can see in this thing right now. And sometimes it's it's highly specific, like an exploding pen. This, I think, is the scene from GoldenEye, right? That exploding pen is very specific to the outcome of the entire movie, entire plot. No spoilers, obviously. But one thing I think that's interesting about Bond movies is that no matter what happens, Bond does seem to find a use for every gadget he's given. And that's what we should be taking as an example. And so I actually think that what we need as explosive, what we need is to, when equipping our agents, we need to think about what we need to do to help them out. I'll get to a demo in a minute, but you see, agents can get overwhelmed with tools, right? So there are limits. I think Cursor has a limit of about 40 tools. GitHub Copilot gives you a more generous limit of about 128. But the underlying limitation to this is the LLM, is the model. The more tools you provide to a model, the longer the context is, the more potential overlap there is in usage of those tools, and the harder it is for the model to select the right tool for the job. And so that's why we get hard limits in something like Cursor. But those limits are actually there to protect us, because if you try and throw 1,000 tools at a model, it is going to get completely lost. And we don't want that. And so when you're setting up an agent, and you're telling them the mission parameters, you're setting out the objectives, you need to be clear in your prompt, but you also need to be clear with their entire toolkit so it can successfully complete the mission as well. I think this is one of the most important things when developing with AI. You wouldn't use the Playwright MCP server when you're not doing testing. You use it around other, for its specific job. And agents come with some built-in tools as well, right? You have file manipulation, you have web search, and of course there are many pre-built tools out there. We've seen Playwright. We'll see plenty more, I think, today, over the course of today, in terms of MCP servers that you can use to make your development better. But sometimes you also need your own custom tools. You need that one-off tool that has a very specific use case, the exploding pen that's going to make or break the mission. And I want to show you what I mean by this, because it's real great when you are building, say, a front end with something like Vue or React or Tailwind, and there are many, many examples that these models have seen. They have a lot they can already work with, and they know how to build with that. But if you're building with something that's a lot newer, something that the models may not have seen as many examples of, or even maybe none at all, they aren't as good as what they do. And so, as I was saying at the start, I work on a tool called Langflow. Langflow looks a bit like this. Let's have a quick look. It's a drag and drop builder that allows you to build AI workflows. So this is a very simple workflow where you get a chat input, a prompt, a language model here, OpenAI in this case, and a chat output. And so this is just very basic prompting, but you have an awful lot more than that. If you check the left-hand side, the components on the left, you have a lot to choose from in order to build up one of these prompts. And once you've built it, you can share it via API access. That is probably a little too small for you to see on screen, but this is just giving some example code about how to run this flow in Python in this example. And there's a JavaScript tab and a curl tab. But if I wanted to create an application that did deal with that and run a Langflow flow, I could do so. I could try and do so by prompting it to do so. I'm in Cursor here, and I've got myself a TypeScript application. And what can I do? I'll just ask it to complete this function by calling the Langflow API with an input to the function. Not a very complicated prompt, I can tell you that. But what it's going to do normally is it's thought about some stuff. It has often this actually goes and does a web search, although it hasn't done it today. And it's gone and written out a whole bunch of custom code using fetch, and it's built its own small client here. And it's done the job. Like, that's probably okay. It's decent, but I'm just going to undo that all because there's an easier way to do this. Like, it turns out that if I go to over here, there is a TypeScript library with which to call Langflow, and it's much easier. It just takes a few lines of code, and you can just call flow.run. But it doesn't know about that. And even when it does a web search, it actually doesn't find this. It finds an example Python code, and then it kind of translates that Python into JavaScript, which is not a bad approach. It's just not the best one that we want here. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to grab Langflow again. I'm going to go back out. And I think I saw somebody saying to zoom, and I apologize. Like this current version of this of the desktop application here that I have does not zoom the text. I can zoom my my components though, so I'll try and go in on those. And so what have we got? So we're going to build our own flow here. We're going to build our own flow that's going to help out our agent in Cursor. And so I'm going to start it with the chat input. Pretty much all these flows start with a chat input. Let's zoom in. I'm going to give it an agent, actually, in this case. I'm going to grab this agent, which is it's a tool using agent itself inside of Langflow. I'm going to stick with OpenAI for this, and I am going to update its agent instructions to say that I'll read this out because that is too small. You are a helpful assistant that can use tools to answer questions and perform tasks. Your tool can fetch data from a URL, use it to fetch information about the Langflow TypeScript client at this URL. And then I just gave it the URL to this documentation page here. And so I'm really just giving an agent, giving this agent a way to point at the right documentation for this. I do need to give it its tool. So I'm going to grab the URL component, turn it into tool mode, and pretty much all the components here can be turned into tools that can be given to other agents. And once we've done that, I just need it to output as well. So I'll grab the chat output and connect that up. And so this is not a very complicated example because we don't have a lot of time to show complicated examples, but this shows you that we have a sub-agent here that is capable of looking through the Langflow documentation and finding the right stuff out for our core agent, our cursor agent in this case. And so I can chat with this right now. I can build this to make sure it works, and we get a playground to go and chat with it. And there it is. It's gone and told me some stuff. Let's just do a new chat with it because it knows that. No, it's fine. It's telling me all of the documentation right now. But what we're going to do, because now we have this flow here that is capable of being an agent and looking stuff up and responding to questions itself, we can turn that into an MCP server itself. So first up, I will just give it a better name, Langflow and TypeScript. And secondly, I'll just give it a better description, because names and descriptions are super important in our MCP servers as well. And so we can take our flows in this project and turn them into an MCP server. And even better, actually, we can auto install it. So I've got the cursor auto install here, and if I just press plus there, I should be able to return to cursor and find out that yes, my Langflow MCP server is here, and I have this Langflow TypeScript tool available to my model already. And so let's create ourselves a new chat. Let's get rid of the old one. We got rid of all the old code, and this time around, I'm going to say add code to call the Langflow API in TypeScript. And if models and agents are on my side today, it will go ahead and use the MCP server to find out about stuff. No, it's not going to do it, is it? Of course it's not. Although it has written a bunch of types for me, which is nice. Agents will never, ever, ever respond to you correctly. Nope, it now wants to use Axios. This is cool. I'm going to try him one more time. Undo all of that. Because I have created, add code to use the Langflow TypeScript client to call the Langflow API. So it's making stuff up. Cool. Well, very excited to see that it's not paying me attention today. Let me give it, I tell you what, one more go. So use your tool to find out about the Langflow TypeScript client and complete this code. Complete the function. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So in this case, it's calling on the tool now, finally asking what is Langflow and how do I use the TypeScript client? And so it will get a response back from our flow within Langflow in order to then complete the code. So it's going to take a little time to do that. It's got a bunch of examples back. Now it knows to install DataStax's Langflow client, so I'll let it do that. And now it's getting the thing right. Cool. I always tell people I never work with animals, children, or large language models, but apparently my job is to work with large language models. So here it is. Now it is using the Langflow client. It is calling client.flow, and I will keep all of that because I now agree with it. Cool. So, like I said at the start, prompt engineering is dead. Not to say that prompting is dead in any way. In fact, the more you prompt it, the better you're going to get responses out of both your tools and your agents. But context engineering, the craft of creating the entire environment around you or around the agent that is going to give them the tools to answer your question, your problem the right way, is what you need to keep thinking about yourself. Be Q for your agent. Provide the tools, provide the surgical precision they're going to need for that, and build the tools that your agent needs. Langflow is just one way to build an MCP server quickly that's going to that can help you out in a little bit like that, and there are many others as well. Before I stop this, I will say I've been publishing as part of Langflow. We have a newsletter called AI++. It is a newsletter that comes out every couple of weeks with just everything you need to know about building with AI, with agents, with MCP. So if you do want to sign up to that, please hit that QR code, or I'll drop links into the chat once I'm done. And otherwise, check out Langflow. It is a free and open source tool. You can contribute to it if you want to. But it's also there for you to use to build AI flows, build MCP servers, and build context for your agents. Other than that, thank you so much. Again, my name is Nash. I'm a developer relations engineer for Langflow, and it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you today.
Thanks very much, Phil. Really appreciate it, sir.
Whew, thank you.
We got you on
Glad
here
the
eventually. Sorry about
I'm
that.
glad I got on. I'm glad the agent eventually listened to me. You know, it's yeah, it's it's too late in the night. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Oh man, yeah, you are a hero, sir. That is good on you. Um, so let's do some questions from the audience very quickly, and then let you go to bed. Um, so our first question is, so from a security standpoint, how do you ensure that agents accessing external tools via MCP don't expose vulnerabilities?
Yeah, that I mean that is an absolutely huge question. I hope you're planning on asking that to everybody who's coming along today, because you may well hear different answers each time. What I think about when dealing with these things is what's it called? The it's the lethal trifecta, I think, is what it gets called.
Hmm.
Simon Willison has written about that. The idea that, like, if you have tools that can access private data, can access untrusted content, and access external communication, that puts you in the danger that the untrusted content slips a prompt in that that gets your private data and then leaks it via the external communication. And so it is important that you don't get all three of those tools mixed up at any one time. I think it's most important to ensure to be careful with external communication. That kind of tool that is capable of publishing a comment on GitHub or sending an email. Those are the things that I think are the most dangerous part of that. And so either ensure that ensure that your agents are requesting your access to use tools like that. Don't just kind of YOLO mode it when you've got external communication as part of your tool set, and let them do whatever they want to, or just kind of do not allow for external communication whatsoever. That's kind of the easiest one, especially when we're developing like this. You are less likely in a lot of situations to need to post something publicly um, uh, when you're within your coding agent. Um,
Mhm.
it's a bit more difficult if you're talking about more general purpose agents, because if you do want your agent to manage your email, you're fully giving them those things already. You've given them everything. You've given private data, untrusted content, and external communication all in just one set of email tools. So like you want to be just more on the ball about allowing them to do stuff. But just consider that the lethal trifecta is. I'm just going to drop a link in the chat. Actually, the lethal trifecta is the thing I would consider when you're adding your own tools. It
Cool.
is a bit of a shame, I think, actually, with MCP, we are a bit more responsible for our own security than perhaps we'd like to be. But that's at this stage, you have to keep an eye on your security yourself.
Definitely. I heard somebody say one time that the S in MCP stands for security. Um, so you definitely
Yes,
got to
right.
be careful. Yeah. Okay. And just another quick note: if anybody hasn't read the article from Anthropic about their little case study, where eventually the AI ends up blackmailing one of the fake
Oh,
subjects, and there's it's crazy. It really is. But yeah, just be careful out there.